Hi guys and welcome to Pheas Airsoft, where today I'm going to do a disassembly on this CYMA CM.041SD6 or MP5SD6. Hi guys and welcome back. If you do enjoy my video today, I find it useful, please do like and subscribe because you are really helping me out with that. Hopefully you've seen the unboxing of this special edition high-speed CYMA MP5SD6 that I did recently, and that came in the £900 order. And you probably will have seen that we couldn't find a way to adjust the hop up. So I said I would do a disassembly video pretty sharpish so people could see what was going off with the internals and where the hop adjustment actually is with this. So we'll get started. First thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull the charging handle back, and I'm just going to pull these tabs out to get rid of the battery cover. So I'll get those out of the way like that. I'll slide it off. The suppressor is just a quarter turn and it comes off, so it's like a quick release one. Would have been nice if they'd have included a 14mm thread in there for people to put their own on afterwards, but it is what it is. Next thing I'm going to do is we're going to go to the stock, and I'm going to drop the stock off. So I'm just going to push that push pin through. Push pin comes out, and the stock assembly just comes loose. And now there is a little tab. You can see it there. That's okay. That's just the sling loop coming loose. You can sort that out later. So that little tab sits in there, and if you're looking at the orientation of it, so that, there we go, sits in there with that little spring like that, and it just catches on the stock to stop it sliding out. Should have realised that in the unboxing video, but never mind. I'll just pull that out the way. So that's the wiring coming out of the back of the gearbox and connecting to the battery wiring there. So we'll just disconnect that, because we're going to be taking all this out shortly. And I'm impressed with how much metal is actually on this thing. It's really quite impressive actually. Next thing we're going to do, we'll get the base plate off and the motor out, and then we'll take the pistol grip off. We'll probably take it out with the gearbox at the same time, hopefully. Let's have a look. So I'm going to have to take out the selector, so I'm going to have to find my fine hex keys as well. The joys. Let's have a look. No, I'm going to have to find them right now. Bear with me while I get some more tools. So I am back with some tools, and we're going to get these hex head screws out the bottom there. Just find the right size. There we go. So it's 2.5. Down. I'm just going to put my thumb on the motor plate just because I know that there's springs under there, and when I release this screw I don't want it to go firing out. As you can see there, hopefully probably there is a little bit of movement, so I'll put that back there, lift that up. There shouldn't be a motor plate because it's a big adjustment screw, and that's good. Pop that off, and that one. So those are the connectors. You've got your red at the front and the black at the back. That is the same high-speed motor that we've seen in the 97 A or B, the M4 high-speed variant that we saw, the E edition, premium edition, platinum edition even. So next we'll just undo the screws that are in the bottom of the pistol grip. Right. Need a Phillips for that. So there's two screws in the bottom of there. Now there is, in this case, there is just two holes. There's one bottom right and one top left. In M4s particularly, sometimes in MP5s you might get 4 holes in there. The minimum you need in there is 2, as you'll find in most M4 or even MP5 variants, and it's usually the top left and the bottom right as you're looking at it in this orientation. Come on. There we go. Take that off, get that out of there. Right, next thing we'll do is we'll get this screw out of the back, and we'll remove this plate out of the back of here. Ooh. So that is connected to, oh, I'm guessing that's part of the charging handle assembly. That's different to how they used to be. That's interesting. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to push this pin out here. I'm just going to move that to the side. I'm just going to push this pin out here, just by the mag release, and drop that out. And then that does nicely, just slides the gearbox straight out of the back. Now that is looking really, really nice quality. Shame about the hop up. So next we've got the wiring running on the inside of the receiver there in like a little track thing down there. You can just about see, obviously when you put it back together, make sure that it goes back in nicely. Now that is rather snugly fitted in there. There we go. So just releasing that from that one and that one. So there is the hop. So there is the hop adjustment. Now I'm not sure where they are expecting us. So that on the left hand side of the hop unit, I'm not sure where they're expecting us to get access to that, because from what I can see, there is nowhere, there is literally nowhere in there that I can access that hop adjustment, which is quite disappointing really. Actually, where does that sit? Let's just figure this out a little bit. So if I push, oops, I'm so clumsy at times. Okay, so let's get that going back in there. Everything's clattering all over. Get the wiring back in the right place. So the barrel's going back in place. There we go. Now if I pull the charging handle back, lock it in place. Now I can, probably using, it's probably what the Allen key's for, is nothing else other than to access the hop unit. This is, I'm going to be honest, this is really disappointing me. So I'm going to lock the that back. If I slide the Allen key down there, I can hook it, sort of. I can hook it on the little latch on the side of the hop unit, and I am currently adjusting the hop unit. Now, I'm going to be honest, that really, really displeases me a lot. That it should be easier to alter your hop on this, especially when the touting has been such high quality. That's a little bit disappointing. Oh my days, I'm having a nightmare. That's really disappointing. But basically, the Allen key fed down the inside of the receiver. It just hooked on that slider, and I just pulled it backwards and forwards. Now that is not something you're going to be able to do easily mid-battle, so you're going to have to spend a long time putting some rounds through this just to set your hop. Now it does move a little bit too freely, which worries me. That's a bit better. I've just tightened that down a little bit just to create a bit of compression, just to try and stiffen it up a little bit. That might not stick long term. So the hop is adjustable, and there is loads of adjustment on there. So if I can show you, that's fully adjusted, fully off, fully adjusted. I'm a little bit disappointed in that. I was expecting better, but it is what it is. At least we do know it's adjustable, and we've actually found a use for the hex key that came in here. So the next thing then, here's the other use, is to undo the Allen key that is right here. So to get the gearbox out, we're going to have to undo, there's a little hex key under the left selector. So we're just going to undo the hex key, a little grub screw using the hex key. There we go. And what we should find is that after a few turns, there we go, it should, and it does, it just pops off. Okay, please don't undo the grub screw too much, because it is just going to disappear and it will be really hard to replace. I'm going to slide the selector out. Obviously MP5s have ambidextrous. Now what I'm going to do is, there's a little plastic cam here that sits inside here. As I slide this out, I'm going to keep it the other way up, or I'll lift that out. Now you can see the plastic cam is right there, and I've just knocked it out. So that is a little plastic cam. This extending bit needs to come out of the side of the gearbox. I'm not going to lie to you, it is going to be a pain in the backside when you're reassembling to get that in and kept in position whilst you're getting everything else back in with it at the same time. But I'll cover that in a moment. So, in fact, I'll do that now. So when you're reassembling, what you're going to have to do is put the cam in first, like that, and I guarantee a lot of you will forget to put it back in first. So it sits in like that, it's in position. Then feed the wires down back through their two holes, so it's the main, let's get the screwdriver, so it's this hole here for the black, and this hole here, there we go, for the red. The middle one is for the motor, and the two little ones at the sides are for the screws. And you've got to basically balance it all while sliding it all back in. And it'll be a little bit fiddly and be time consuming, but it will go in eventually. And the cam just sits in with that, and as you move the selector, it's just moving that plate about. So already I can see there's a lot of Blue Edition stuff on there, so it's looking like a very, very good quality solid gearbox. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom my camera in to the lowest point. There we go. Let's open this up and have a quick look. The more I'm thinking about that hop, the less it's actually bothering me now. You know, think about things like 1911s where you have to remove the full top slide to adjust the hop unit. At least with this, you don't have to disassemble anything. It's just jamming a little Allen key down the side. So it's going to take the top 4 screws out. Unfortunately, it's not a quick change spring in the back. It's just a standard version 2 gearbox with your MP5 trigger on it. The MP5 triggers, just in case you're wondering, are different to M4 triggers. So although this is the same type of gearbox you would get in an M4, the actual triggers are different, so they're not compatible. So you know, if you are thinking, oh, put a nice flat M4 trigger in it, unfortunately you can't do that. So that comes out. This one. Now I'm going to remove that one as well, just to make sure that there's no issues. That one connects through into part of the safety lever that stops your trigger moving. Just need that one. Right, so jam a screwdriver in the back and lift the handle up so you're angling the blade down, so it's like that. There might be a little bit movement, not an awful lot, and then I'm just going to pull up on the top part, and keeping it down, keeping that angle down, stops that from exploding out to the back. Now, they've gone for the Daub approach of greasing it in there, and they're using their some blue grease. Are they bearing based? Got nice metal bushings. They are bearing based as well by the looks of it. Those are not moving in the middle as I'm turning the outer. They are. So they're bearing based. Sorry, that's off camera. Hopefully you can possibly see the middle moving there. So they're bearing based bushings, which obviously helps with the high speed. It helps it make more easily for the gear set to spin. We've also got a bearing based spring guide there as well, which is very solid and heavy metal. That looks like the original spring, so I'm guessing there's probably some sort of air seal issue in the cylinder or with the hop unit that is causing the FPS to be at UK limits, because CYMAs usually are about 400 out of the box. But I'll just show you up close. Obviously you could fit a Titan in this quite easily without any issues. So you got obviously your trigger contact in there. Obviously this blue stuff is solid. Now that is, I've just noticed, that is a full metal tooth piston in there. So they've decided to put a full metal tooth piston in there. You got blue anodized cylinder head. Oops, let's pop that off there. There goes your... There we go. Let's drop that back on there so I know it's definitely come from that one. There we go. Right, so let's have a look at the compression in here. Absolutely no compression whatsoever. And that would explain to me why the original spring is still giving you 350, because there is no compression whatsoever, and it'll just go in. So obviously you're losing a lot there. If you change the O-ring to a tighter fitting one to give you that compression, then obviously you would benefit from that massively, but you would need to downgrade the spring at the same time. Obviously at this point now we've got the spring out, so you could just pull the spring off, put your new spring in and reassemble it. So we'll just quickly go back through the reassembly of this, and just to help you out if you take one of these apart. So obviously this would apply to most MP5s, or at least version 2 gearboxes, because I'll just cover that. So what we've got is, we've got the cylinder head back inside the cylinder with the port on the side here. I've put the nozzle on. The tappet plate, this is your tappet plate because it taps on this peg here to pull back and allow BBs in, and then obviously goes back forward again. And then you've got your tappet spring as well. So I'm going to hook the tappet spring back on. So I've got an assembly that looks like that. It's a little bit fiddly, unfortunately. Now, the sector gear here, I'm just going to turn it round so that the peg that pulls on this is sat at the 3 o'clock position. And then I'm going to very carefully, I'm going to hook the spring on, so the spring hooks on the post at the front there. And I'm going to push it back against the pressure of the spring. Now this hole is one on each side of the cylinder head that match onto little posts. That's clicked in. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use a flathead just to push the spring all as far down that little post as it will go. That keeps it secure. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that the tracks on the bottom side are sat on the tracks, and it should move freely like that. That's all looking good so far. The trigger is still sat where it should be. I'm just going to push down on that spring. There is a spring underneath there. There is that one there. I'm just going to keep that tension down. In fact, I'll tell you what, no, I'm not going to lift it up because I'll never get it back in. Next thing, you've got your anti-reversal latch. So this stops your gear set spinning backwards after you've been firing, and if you don't put it back in, it causes a lot of issues. Some MOSFETs allow you to remove this because it'll use braking to basically stop the gearbox anyway and keep it in position. And then I'm just going to drop that gear in there, and I'm just going to make sure that it's clicking, and it does, it clicks, which says that it's moving nicely. The last thing, and this is where it's all going to ping out, and I'm going to lose all the parts all over my kitchen. So I've got the spring and the spring guide. I'm going to hold the piston and the cylinder down. I'm going to slide that in. In fact, I'm going to use my screwdriver. So I'm going to just get my screwdriver in there. I'm going to compress that in, and that takes, there we go, a little bit of force. Now, bear with me, there we go. So the spring guide has got 2 pegs on it that go into holes in the gearbox. You can see that's lifting up slightly. So not mega rushing, but you know, fairly nipply. You might want to get that in. Now it's not going to shut fully at the minute because the safety bar's in the way. Then what you're going to need to do is you're going to need something like this to just move these bearings about, and it should click flush like that. Now if you're going to have issues with this, the main 2 places you're going to have issues is that your anti-reversal latch will pop up and not be sat in the 2 holes, and that will stop it going flush. As you can see there, it's gone flush now, it just needs screwing back together. That is absolutely rock solid, that. It feels really weighty. You can see obviously the reinforcements here, and this is traditionally where version 2 gearboxes have broken. The other place that you'll have is the trigger, and the spring that's on the trigger will just pop sometimes, and it will cause you no end of trouble, but that's how you reassemble it. So I hope you've enjoyed that. I'm glad that we've got to the bottom of the hop unit and that it is actually accessible and it can be adjusted. It's just fiddly, and actually the more and more I'm thinking about it, the less and less it matters to me. Might want tightening down because it may lose hop over time because it's not the most secure. And the gearbox is absolutely solid, looks brilliant. A little bit disappointing that they could have put their MOSFET in it that they've put in the Platinum Edition M4s and SR25 variants or AR10s. But that is solid. With the high-speed motor, you've got a really nice setup there and something that's absolutely rock solid, and it's going to run really, really nicely. The gear set is really solid. You've got bearing-based bushings in there which are going to help it turn over quickly. The bearing base spring guide keeps the spring from getting too tightly coiled up, because as it compressed and expanded, it tries to turn. Obviously the bearings allow that movement in there and things. Overall, I'm really quite happy with that. I'm relieved that we managed to find that the hop is adjustable. So please do like and subscribe. I will see you next time. Bye.